What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh! Sevens chapter review. Yes, guys, today, guys, we are going to be going back into doing some Yu-Gi-Oh! Sevens manga reviews. It's been about, I would say, 2 months since the last time that, and you know what, I'm going to confirm that right now. Yes, it's been 2 months since we've actually done a Yu-Gi-Oh! Sevens chapter review. It's been a minute since we had actually done a review on this. In fact, I actually went back and read the first chapter as well as the second chapter for this review, just kind of to refresh my memory on what happened in the last chapter, just because it had been a minute since I've actually read this. But today, guys, we are going to be going over the second chapter for the Yu-Gi-Oh! Sevens manga. Before I actually get into it, I want to quickly mention that for this week, there will be no Yu-Gi-Oh! OCG Structures review. What I've decided is with Yu-Gi-Oh! Sevens and OCG Structures, potentially going on a month or 2 month normally kind of system. Normally what I want to kind of do when it comes to that kind of stuff is I just want to do one manga a week. So if a Yu-Gi-Oh! Sevens manga comes out first, I'll focus on that, and then I will go on and do the Yu-Gi-Oh! OCG Structures manga, which I'll kind of talk about that whole situation when I get caught up with the manga, because I'm literally 2 chapters away from doing it. Although there is 14 through 19 still that has actually been known to exist, but there is no English translation, so I can't do that. But I kind of just wanted to mention that and how this whole system goes when it comes to the mangas. So there will, if you guys have been enjoying the Yu-Gi-Oh! OCG Structures reviews and have been wondering where Chapter 11 will be this week, there will be no Chapter 11 this week. It will be next week. So if you've been following that series, just wait until next week. But hey, at least you still got a Sevens manga review to look after. So let's not waste any more time and let's get right into it. So what are my thoughts on this chapter? I did enjoy it. I was not expecting the duel that we were actually going to get in this episode. I thought when going into this, and I still think they're going to do it, I just think they changed the order and how they did this, because when I read back the first chapter, I kind of had an idea of what might potentially happen, as I think they were going to do with Rook's story, is they were going to do something similar to how the anime did it, where they were going to do Yuga facing all of his friends before we get into someone else. Now, with the only other difference being is that he never faced Otis, which I thought was interesting, but he had no reason to. Otis was not the, or excuse me, Rook was not the creator of rush duels in this manga. It's still Yuga, so that duel would never even make sense. Maybe we could have saw the duel between him and Otis of what actually happened during that duel, but it seems like that whole thing with him getting the 6 penalties might not exist. I don't know how the heck this manga is going to really work, because I've been talking to quite a few people about this manga, and I feel like a lot of people can already tell that this might just be an add-on to the anime, but have kind of like Rook's story to it, or like have his, or it might be like the same way as the Yu-Gi-Oh! Sevens anime, but it's through Rook instead of Yuga, which is, I don't know, I wouldn't really like it that way because of the fact that, you know, it's just the same story but Rook. Sure, it's a cool new perspective, but we already know what's going to happen, so hopefully they do something a little bit different, and they did with this, as if you remember back in the anime, it was actually Yuga versus Roman before Yuga versus Gakuto. But this time, it is Rook versus Gakuto in this, which, funny enough, Rook has not faced Gakuto nor Roman in this entire manga, or in the entire anime. For the last 34 episodes, he did not duel them, either of those two, once. Sure, you got a little bit of a conflict with Roman, but Roman made him, Dragir's Curry to kind of help that situation, so, yeah, no duel ended up coming out of that, but it was very interesting that they decided to go with Gakuto, and Gakuto's just the same as normal. You know, he goes and does his student council duties, and the reason they ended up dueling was because Gakuto goes into one of the rooms. You know, he's trying to make sure everything's in line, everything's clean, everything's organized, and he goes in the room with Rook, Yuga, and Roman. They're all hanging out, and all the cards are all over the place. There's open bags of chips. I think there might have even been a can of soda or something like that. I could be remembering it wrong. And this infuriates Gakuto to the point where he kind of gets mad at Rook for the case. And even Rook he started going on this rant about how like dragons are the strongest cards in the game, which I guess it depends on the format, because if anyone had paid attention to the TCG, and I guess they're still kind of prevalent, but not as much anymore as since of Man List. But Dragon Link was the most powerful deck that you could play in the format, which shows how strong that dragons can potentially be. Until Konami then basically bans the cards that make the deck so powerful and kind of weakens it. Though I think Dragon Link still get a good amount of play, but not as much anymore. Now these days you got Drytron and Virtual World, so yeah, it's definitely depending on the format and what time it is, and it also depends on how you structure the deck. I will say though that dragons are probably one of the most popular types in the card game. Like, if you told me to like ask 100 people and ask them what the top 3 archetypes or types would be, I feel like a good majority would probably say dragons, warriors, and spellcasters. Well, and that's in my opinion, obviously. I don't really know what the case would that be. And let me know what you guys think. Do you guys agree with that statement I just made, and that is like the top 3 like most popular? Or do you think it might be something else like Fiend and Machine, which I would be if you extended that to top 5? But I feel like if I talk to a lot of people that used to have like casual, like they just play very casually, they'll play like a spellcaster deck, like a Dark Magician deck, or even like a Pendulum like spellcasters deck. Like, they will have spellcasters in there. Warriors, dragons, I feel like are like the most popular out of them all. I mean, I feel like they have some of the most biggest support into it. Maybe besides, again, Fiends would probably be another high one up there. And maybe like a Wing Beast up there as well, but I can't really say much for that. But, you know, I guess it depends on your whole premise. And basically, Gakuto then decides to challenge Rook to a duel. This surprised all 3 of them, because that's normally not the way Gakuto normally runs. Remember, in the anime, you know, he didn't want people to rush duel during school, and he ends up breaking that rule and dueling Yuga to try to get that to stop. And in a way, that kind of is him breaking this rules, except trying to stop rush duels, he basically is dueling him to just clean up the table. If Rook wins, he can have it as dirty as he wanted it to be. But if Gakuto wins, he gets to basically tell him that, hey, you're going to have to clean this up. And he decides to accept that challenge. And that's where we actually get into the duel. And my thoughts on the duel. It was very interesting. You know, again, it's really weird because we haven't seen this in the anime, so it's kind of cool to see Rook versus Gakuto for the first time in any of these series, so I think it was a pretty cool start. Rook goes in his turn, and you see Gakuto, you know, he's still in his, like, robe when he duels, so at least they kept that, which I'm not surprised. I mean, the way they've been making this manga has really seemed like it wants to be really connected towards the anime, or it might be just like an add-on to the anime, but I guess we would have to wait to see how the manga kind of goes a little bit more forward, but it kind of looks like that's the route they'll go, which I'll give an opinion on that sometime later on. But the duel I thought was interesting. Rook goes, and this was a very short duel. I think this was a 4-turn duel, I want to say, or it was a 3-turn duel, actually, now thinking about it. No, it was a 3-turn duel. I was thinking of the Yuga and Gakuto one, which it was a 4-turn duel. This one was just a 3-turn duel. It was a Rook, Gakuto, Rook turn. Rook goes into his turn. He activates Mountain, which is able to help dragon monsters gain 200 attack. Roman kind of makes a statement of how his 200 attack points really going to help him win this duel, which probably indicating that, you know, he's going to use Mountain to win the duel, and we'll see that a little bit later on. And he kind of talked about that. They kind of explained how the field spell kind of works, which was very, very interesting, though. And when I read the first chapter, they kind of did explain rush duels in a way, but instead of actually, like, telling the audience what it was, you just had Rook kind of inner monologuing with yourself. It's like this ability to be able to special summon as many monsters as you want. Because remember, he complained about the whole new way to play duel, or how to play what basically Yu-Gi-Oh! I didn't know how to. I was thinking of duel monsters. I keep forgetting that's what they call it in the anime. I'm just used to calling it Yu-Gi-Oh! These days. But he's not used to playing in that new style, and he just didn't like it. And now they're giving an explanation of field spells, which It's pretty early in the series compared to the anime. In the anime, they didn't explain it until episode 8 when it was Rook versus Yugioh. Funny enough, both duels that explain the field spell mechanic had Rook in the duel. The only difference is that Gakuto is in this duel and Rook uses the field spell. However, in the anime, Yoshio was Rook's opponent and he played the field spell, not Rook. So some differences there that I noticed when it came to that. Gakuto goes into his turn. He was able to summon a couple of monsters onto his field and was able to get out his Yame ruler out onto the field, similar to his ace monster in the anime. Now, I think I mentioned this last time. I was a little upset that they are using the ace monsters of this manga, and I am gonna probably still be the same way even throughout the series because the manga I feel like is their best opportunity to promote new cards. I know that it kind of sounds a little bit cheap and it's honestly a marketing idea to help them grow Rush Duels. If you have a manga that actually lets them use new monsters in the manga compared to the anime, that's a great way to expand the Rush Duel game, and they just didn't decide to take it. I think if I had to have a reason why they didn't do that, it was probably because people coming to the manga wouldn't be used to them using different monsters or like different ace monsters, so they wanted to kind of keep the deck similar and have the same ace monsters. That way it isn't confusing, although I like the difference just because it gives it a whole new way to look of how their dueling style is, and I really do like that. I think of a big example is I'll do Aster for example in the anime and the manga. In fact, he uses a completely different archetype. In the anime, he uses Destiny heroes. However, in the manga, he uses Vision arrows, and their mechanics are pretty different, I would say. Vision heroes do focus on spells and trap cards. In fact, putting the monsters in your spell and trap card zone, kind of like an opposite version of Paleozoics, if anyone knows that deck. That might be a bad comparison, but I kind of think of like Paleozoics to some degree when talking about Vision heroes, but maybe that's just my opinion on this. And also, I forgot to mention that Rook bricked this entire duel, or at least during his turn, because he only played Mountain and set a card and then end his turn when it went to Gakuto's turn, and that's because he bricked. He bricked. I love when it does kind of stuff like this because it makes it more on the realistic side. You know, you have these characters who always get the draw that they, or get the hand or the draw that they need to win this duel or to get a good board out on the field. But Rook bricked this duel. He didn't have any monsters that he could summon in this duel, and he basically had to take a direct attack in his duel, and that's what he ended up doing. He had to take a massive direct attack from Yame Ruler, which devastated his life points, but he was able to activate a trap to be able to save himself from taking too much damage. Then he goes into his turn, and he's able to get out the card he needs, which is going to happen no matter what. He's able to activate Dragonic Pressure, which sending high-level monsters to his graveyard, he's able to destroy cards on Gakuto's field. So he's able to basically wipe Gakuto's entire field completely clean. He's able to get out his ace monster, Dragears, out into the field, and another dragon monster, and no. He doesn't get Dragears on the field. He actually talks to Dragears. That is my mistake. I got confused when that ended up happening because I thought he was summoning Dragears, and I did it again where I thought he did it, but no, he ended up talking to Dragears in this episode, which is very interesting. But he kind of had a similar thing with Miragias back in episode, I want to say it was 26 in Yu-Gi-Oh! No, I think it was actually, no, it was 27. Excuse me, 26 was the duel with Neil. So 27, remember when he talked to Miragias and he was able to gain that card, he kind of talked to Dragears in this episode, which was a very interesting thing. He gets 2 dragons on the field, and this is where this whole thing comes into play. Roman says like, oh, that's 3,600 attack points, you're not going to be able to beat it. Well, remember, he has Mountain on the field, and each dragon monster gains 200 attack points. So, the 2 dragon monsters gain 200 attack points. With that added 200 attack points to 2 monsters, that makes a total of 400 extra points going into these 2 monsters being split. 3,600 plus 400 equals 4,000, and is able to OTK Gakuto in 1 turn. And that's basically it for the duel. Very, very short duel, which I just need to which I've said it many times. I'm trying to get used to it. I'm starting to get used that this is going to be the way that the anime and the manga is probably going to do stuff, unless it has to be into a big boss battle. Then you're going to probably get a potential 6-7 turn duel. So, yeah, shorter duel, but I was still able to enjoy it. It's the first time we saw Rook and Gakuto face each other. I wish there was a little bit more spell and trap cards. I think Gakuto didn't even play a single spell and trap card the entire duel. And we know he has spells and traps. We know he has, like, shield and sword. He might potentially have sword and shield, which is a trap card that was released in one of the new structure packs for rush duels, so he couldn't use that. He couldn't use really any new cards that he really wanted to, but no, he just summoned monsters onto the field, was able to get out Yami Ruler, and was able to deal enough damage. I think he got another monster out in the field, and that's why he had to activate the trap, but overall, still enjoyed the duel, though. I just wish there was a little bit more than just attacking monsters, but that's something with rush duels. It's very easy to do that because of the fact of your massive drawing. You can probably have potential to that. But also, with your massive draws, there gives potential for you to be able to summon a bunch of monsters and place cards in the back row, but that didn't end up being the case. Though, to be fair, Rook had to draw only 2 cards during that duel because he had his 3 high-level monsters on his hand, and he couldn't really do anything. So, I'd be fair to that degree, and Gakuto obviously didn't draw after that, so yeah, I'm a little bit more fair on that one, but I still enjoyed the duel nonetheless. But after the duel ended, Rook decided that he was going to clean the desk. He was done with the whole thing, and he says, like, you know, I have my deck is ready, and now the table is going to be clean. So, and that's what I like about Rook. He still shows respect. Remember, in the first chapter, he dueled for the Sevens Burgers, and even though he lost the duel, he still gave Yuga a Sevens Burger, because he originally was going to do that anyway. So, and that's what I like about it, is because they don't care about this, and this was kind of shown in the first good chunk of the Yugioh Sevens anime where they just didn't care what the rules are. Like, you know, it wasn't those life or death kind of stakes that we see like in Yu-Gi-Oh! Reigns or 5Ds or GX, depending on what arc you're in. And I really do think it's good that we have some balance between, like, not caring about the stakes that are going to occur, and between maybe the life or death kind of stakes. So probably this will have a little bit more of, like, more intense stakes, like maybe getting rid of rush duels or something like that. I don't know what they're going to do for this one, because remember, they went after Yuga because he created rush duels. But now that this is Rook's story, what are they going to do? Like, that's the question that's going to be asked. Like, why are they going to have a reason to go after Rook? Also, something that I didn't mention, and it hasn't been shown yet in the manga, but something that I've been wondering, and maybe I missed it when I read the first chapter again. Rook doesn't seem to have his devil power in this manga. He has not used it yet. He didn't use it in either of the 2 chapters. So, does he still have it, or does he not have it in the manga? And I really wonder if they're going to actually implement it in the manga. Now, if it's going to be the same Rook from the anime, then yes, he's going to have the power. But if they're trying to make this still a different story, then there's a potential that he might not have this power in the manga. I doubt it, though, because of the way they've been doing this manga. I think he's still going to have the power, but he has not really shown that off yet in this manga. So that was just another thing that I wanted to note real quick, and let me know what you guys' thoughts on that as well. But guys, that is going to be it for this manga. Oh, I forgot to mention before I actually ended off, then they had a little funny thing at the end of the manga where literally the next day Gakuto goes in the room and the whole thing is a mess again, and then he gets mad at Rook again. So I thought that was a little funny scene to kind of end off the chapter, which they normally do that kind of stuff in Yu-Gi-Oh! Sevens. They'll have a little funny moment at the end. So really nice to see that. It was a pretty funny scene at the end. But guys, now it's going to be it for this chapter review. Hope you guys enjoyed, and let me know what you guys' thoughts on this chapter was. Did you like this chapter? Were you in the middle of this chapter, or did you not really like this chapter? Also, do you think the next duel that we're going to have in this series is going to be Rook versus Roman? Again, that has not happened in the anime right now. Again, we had that whole episode, I want to say it was 14, or no, it might have been 13. No, it's 14. Excuse me. 14, when the whole Dragear's Curry thing ended up happening. That was their conflict, but never actually dueled in that matter. Do you think that's gonna be a similar thing where there's gonna be some kind of conflict with Rook and Roman, but instead of Dragear's Curry, they're gonna end up dueling? Let me know if you think that's the next duel, or you think they're gonna do something else. Love to know your guys' entire thoughts on the chapter as well. But guys, that is going to be it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, guys, take care and have yourselves a great rest of your day.